With the modeling completed, I've selected all the keys, held down my spacebar, went to Mesh, and clicked on Combine. This will make it easier to texture map in planar mapping. Now I'll marquee select both surfaces, right-click and choose Assign New Material using Arnold AI Standard Surface. I'll name it my attributes, and I'll select each surface starting with the keyboards, and I'll go to UV, planar mapping, and I'll choose the y-axis. Hitting apply, I'll now go to my attributes. And in my attributes, I want to make sure that the projection, width, and height are both the same number. I'll now do the same for the board itself. With the keyboard still selected, I'll go to the UV editor. And in my UV editor, I'll marquee select the UV shell, and I'm going to move it up a little bit. And this will be significant in the texturing process that we keep both these surfaces separate on our UV map. Returning to my object mode, I'll select the plate, and I'll do the same thing. Going to UV, planar, y-axis apply, and once again I need to confirm that in the projection width and height I've chosen the same number. I'll right-click and return to my object mode from both of my surfaces, select both of them, and now I have both of those elements on the same UV map. With them both selecting the object mode inside the UV editor, I'll go to Image and I'll choose UV Snapshot. I'll change the size to 2048. This is just contingent upon how good of a texture you have to use. Making sure the edge is black and that the image format is a PNG. I'll browse to my project folder, name it. I'll click on Save and then Apply and Close. Next, I'll open my UV inside Photoshop and start the texturing process. I'll start by using my magic wand tool to select out the keyboard, inverting the selection, and I'll copy it and I'll put it into my PNG. I've gone in and I've scaled the texture itself to fit the keyboard UV from Maya. Next, I need to make a selection of just the keys because I don't want the shape of the key, so I'll make a selection. I will decrease the selection and then edit out this gray background. With that layer with the texture selected, I'll hit W on the keyboard. I've set my tolerance for the magic wand tool to 40. And now I'm going to click on the gray in between the keys, and you'll see it does a pretty good job of selecting them all. Next, I want to add a new layer, and then I'm going to go to Select, Modify, and I'm going to expand it. I'm going to try about 5 pixels, and I'll click OK. Now, what I'd like to do is fill the outside of this with the color of the keys on that new layer. I'll hit I on the keyboard, I'll select the color I need, and now I'll hit G for my paint bucket, or I can simply hit Option or Alt Delete, and I'll deselect. Now I need to color the background for the actual plate that the keys sit on, which is this file here. I'll hit I on the keyboard, I'll select the gray, and with the bottom layer selected, I'll put a new layer in, and with the paint bucket or Option or Alt Delete, I'll fill it with gray. And then I'll turn on my keypad so that I should have a combination of the actual template image, the white border we use to erase the edges of the keys, and then the gray background. So if I put my UV map on, we can see just where all this content falls. I'll turn off the UV map and I'll hit Command S to save. Now I'm ready to add it to the model inside of Maya. With the model selected inside of Maya, I'll right-click and go to Material Attributes. Following the Color tab under Base, I'll click on the checkerboard. I'll click on File. I'll navigate out to my folder. And if I hit 6 on the keyboard, we should have something like this. Now I need to put in a color on a separate layer for the actual keyboard plate. I'll add a new layer, and from the template of the original file, I'll select the gray, and then in the new blank layer, I'll fill that layer with that gray. Now I'm going to move it down in the order in the layer window so that I have everything I want. So now if I was to turn off my UV map, I should be looking at this simple texture. I'll go ahead and I'll save that. And then we'll return to Maya and apply it. Back in Maya, I've gone back to my texture by right-clicking, going to Material Attribute, and in the base color, I'll select the file I just made and apply it to my geometry. And when I hit 6 on the keyboard, this is what I would have.